Welcome to the demonstration. Um, in this scenario, we are going to continue to discuss the apps that we have taken yesterday. We started discussing the differences between apps and solutions, the problems that you'll be facing with the solutions. Then we think about apps model. We configured our SharePoint to support apps development and deployment. We also saw that how do we do the versioning in apps. Now we'll proceed to demonstrate more capabilities. So we should see that how JSOM is used and client AppParts, BCS, workflow, hosting applications in Office 365. I think I should be having the account. Office.
If you give some the downside, rather you can say limitations of apps, when that will help us to them to choose apps or solutions.
Oh, you mean to say that when we should choose solutions, when we should choose apps, is it?
So what's the downside of that?
Okay, sure. Solutions versus apps. Decision making chart. Okay. And then first we'll complete this. No, we'll complete this and we'll discuss about the other topics. We want to demonstrate that Angular applications also, at least one small demonstration Angular, how it can be used in apps. Okay, let's start. First connect to our system. This ringtone is better actually. Some ringtones will give heart attack actually. Okay, so this is our apps catalog, and this is our SharePoint site. We yesterday developed some app. We added that also. It is working perfectly all right. Now we would like to develop more advanced features into apps like client app parts, BCS OData, how we add the custom actions. Then workflow also, small workflow that we can build to apps level. We'll demonstrate all the features. Yes, Selva Kumar Manikam. So we're doing something. No, okay, we'll concentrate here. Okay, so Selva Kumar had sent a mail couple of days ago, but still I haven't replied that. But I have to give some comments on the mail actually. So right. Right, so now we are going to build one more app here. Okay, system started now only, so it'll take a little time to get boot up, but once it is done, it is going to be very fast. So we'll say that learning advanced features app project. Oh, it becomes a very lengthy name. Advanced features app project, and it is going to be app solution. We are going to develop a SharePoint hosted application only. when you develop an app project, first thing what you are supposed to do is that check whether it is targeted to on premises or Office 365. Okay. Okay. We know that by default it brings up a default template. So the first thing is that I'm going to check that project properties, and SharePoint targeted to on premises. So first it develop everything on premises. If you are connecting to Office 365, you can always go ahead with online. All right. First, we would like to build a very simple BCS OData enabled connector in apps, so that we can bring external data into SharePoint ecosystem. Assume that we have some tables. I think we already have some tables created in the SQL Server. We can use them. We don't have to create a new one. Right. So I think I can make use of the HR system. No. WF training DB tables. Which one can I make use of? Okay, customers table I can make use of. No, this may not be much useful. Okay, so we can make use of this table. Okay, we have got customer ID, name, address, some good details. So we would like to develop a OData service. In .NET it is called WCF data service. Okay, so let us go and build that. Add new folder called services. I would like to create a new website, empty website. CRM OData services web. So we will develop a project only. Let's get the data, the entity data. We'll call it as a CRM model. Designer from database, that is fine. We would like to connect to our database. Okay, we got one entity model here in our hand. There is a template by name WCF data service. Okay, so the WCF data service basically is compliant to OData protocol. We'll develop a service called customer service.svc. We're not interested in the command, so we can just remove that. So basically it is inheriting from a service class called data service, for which context class is the data service to be created. In our case, we want to create for um, what is the entity class we have got? CRM model, right? CRM model. BCS training DB entities. Okay, build it, and then you specify that what entity can be accessed from outside. All entities can be accessed. All types of operations can be performed. That means you can do read, you can do CRUD. Build, view it in web browser. That's fine. We have customer service.svc. It very clearly says that we have got an entity called customers. We can access customers. All customers data is provided. Since it is OData protocol, now I can say that select customer ID, customer name, and active status. Get me only the top 2 records. Now we got only 2 records, only specific fields. So now all the OData identifiers can be used over here. So the idea is that the WCF data service helps us to create OData services in .NET very easily, faster. Nice. Now we can create a new folder called BCS. Add Okay, so I think first I'll create the external content type for external sources, then I'll drag and drop, put them into BCS. Right click, add. There is a feature called content types for an external data source. So I think at the folder level I don't seem to be getting that, isn't it? That's fine, so that's not a problem. Let's go and create content types for an external data source. Content types means template, external data source means outside. So basically business connectivity services using OData. So where is the OData URL? We have got the URL, right? This is the URL, and what is the name you wish to give for this? So we'll call it as customers. So we have one entity called customers. Create a list instance for the selected data entities. So automatically it is going to create entity which has got the CRUD operations. In the BCS we saw that no list operation, item operation, create, update, delete, all the operations will be created. But if you have some custom operation, those will be excluded. Okay, for example, analyze customer. OData may not understand what it is analyze. Finish. Now we can see that one external content types are created. We can also drag and drop, put them into inside the BCS. That is fine. Now it has also created one XML file that describes the content. So the URL to access that external content type is list/customers. Description is customers data using OData protocol. On quick launch, yes. Title customers, that is fine. Now in the main pages the default ASPX, we will simply add that. Learning Sharepoint apps advanced features. I'll put an hyperlink here. href list/customers external customers. build, deploy. Okay, deployment successfully completed. If I go to our SharePoint home, we can see advanced features app project. So why is it prompting? Anyways, the CG apps only, no, but URL has been changed. India hyphen some random app ID dot cgapps.com. So browser thinks about is a new URL because 1.cj.com is different from 2.cj.com actually. So two different URL. New URL, correct. See there, we got the new URL, India, some random URL. This is not going to be the same as your yesterday's developed deployed URL. Okay. Now we can see that our customers data is populated out of OData. Beautiful thing is that since it has got all the operations including CRUD, you can also insert a new record using OData. Even if you enter is not going to be useful. Why? Because an identity field over there. See there, one record has been inserted. So it's a simple demonstration of how BCS data can be integrated into SharePoint. Everything must be OData protocol enabled.
But you can have the custom URL, right? The URL will be like some.
Oh, you mean to say that it is a junk URL, isn't it? Seems to be junk URL, correct. So what you generally do is that you always have the DNS mapping, something like this. At the DNS server, you can say specify like this. Whenever I say 1.abc.com, it will be transformed to this URL. Like this. Now the user always say 1.abc.com or goodapp.cj.com, but internally that will be translated to India hyphen some random URL. Every app will have the unique ID, but the problem is that you cannot change that. Okay, you cannot change. Suppose certain apps, when we install it, we want some friendly URL. Then the DNS administrators have to do some work.
This comes as a part of the main page or separately. This is a.
Which one?
This the navigation and the look and feel.
See here you don't have to worry about. See that the underlying URL is something like pointing to RAM to an SPR layouts app redirect.aspx instant ID equal to this. Okay. When we go here, that time the URL is automatically prepared for the first time and navigated. If you want the friendly URL, most of the times you don't remember this. You don't have to remember all these URLs. Okay, because that is generated by SharePoint. Now still I want to give the friendly URL to end user to be able to access my app directly. Such cases, DNS administrator has to do some work on that. Redirect. Complex URLs into complex URLs into transfer into simple URL. Able to follow me?
Yeah.
So should I go back to the previous page?
There was an option called the SP default home. No, these are all the customized page actually. So app has its own master page.
Yeah.
So you can always customize it to look on how you can change the customer look and feel over there. Nice.
This app you are not published, right? Just to deploy it.
Uh,
Actually, publish two ways we can track. And
See you are not supposed to deploy it to SharePoint site just like that. You're not supposed to do that. That's for development purposes. Learning purposes, you can always develop an app and put them into SharePoint site and see how it really works. If you are satisfied, then you go to the app catalog. Getting the app into SharePoint site via the app catalog is the right way to do that. That's the right channel. Okay. Now what we'll do, we'll build some app parts. We have let's go and create one simple SharePoint list. We'll also demonstrate how remote event receiver can be used here. Oh, what is that? We'll call it as a suppliers list. Suppliers. I'm going to have some data in there. Supplier ID, supplier name, supplier address, supplier limit.
This will be hosted in a subset of the site collection where we mentioned it. Will not be. For example, I want to go abc.com. It should be portal.insole.com. So it should be always under the subset of portal.insole.com.
Correct.
Right? Will not go to some other.
No, it will never go to. Only thing is that then see that it is, even though it is created as a subsite in the given in our case RAM22 SVR subsite has been created, but the URL to access that particular subsite is not same as your site URL. That's why I said app URL and the host web URL, they are always going to be different. It is your responsibility to give the proper or meaningful URL to make sure that it is friendly to end users.
You click on app, it will take you to some
URL.
New URL.
New URL in the sense the site is there in the site collection only,
Okay.
but that site, the subsite URL is different. Okay, so we got a very simple list here. I would like to have some sample.
So next time when you upgrade also the same URL will be retained?
No. When you are upgrading, it will be retained. When you are redeploying it, different URL. For example, every time we are redeploying, right? From Visual Studio, new URLs are coming. When you are upgrading, URL will be retained. That's why we didn't prompt for a username password when I upgraded that version 2.0. Yesterday we did it, right? Version 2.0 we upgraded, but it didn't prompt for your new username password. So we got 5 rows in our hand. Okay, so we got good. So it is going to be deployed as part of our app deployment. When the user creates a new supplier list, I want to be notified. It's a list anyway. when the user edits it, when the user deletes it, when the user creates a new item in the supplier list, I want to be notified. But app will not allow us to write any code in that. So the only opportunity where we can write some event handling is to call some services. So now what I'm going to do, I'll create a new folder called event RER, remote event receivers. Add new item, remote event receiver. This is called suppliers remote event receiver. Now it is prompting what type of events you want to be notified to the remote service. Either the list changes event, the user may try to create a new column or may try to delete an existing column, or list item events. On the supplier list, we want that supplier list. So it doesn't really matter how many number of instances. No, I want the instance level. So either the list level, so you can create a number of instances. Now right now we are putting that requirement to instance level, very specific to that instance. Item is being deleted or item is being added. We'll say that item was added. After the item is added, we want to be notified. Now you can see that it is going to create one web project. See, automatically one web project has been created, and then that particular RER got the reference to that your remote app URL. Services supplier RER.svc. So where do we have got that suppliers RER.svc? It is a simple WCF service which implements a contract called iRemote event service, which has got two methods: process one-way event, process event. Process one-way event will be called for post operations. Process event will be called for pre operations. Item being added, that is a pre operation. Item was added, post operation. Post operation always one way. Pre operation always two way. Why are we supposed to have two way? Your service can determine whether to allow to add a new record or not. See, for example, we have the SP remote event result. Okay, that SP remote event result can return the status saying that continue. Then Sharepoint app will allow the user to continue adding that item. If it says cancel with error, no, the user will not be able to add the new item into the Sharepoint list. You able to understand? So now the requirement comes up. How would you add the custom validation to the supplier list whenever the user adds a new item? Simple. Remote event receiver, pre-operation, determine what is the validation logic, then accordingly take a decision whether to allow the user or not. So now we have got the SVCA. Once you add this kind of advanced app project and the remote event receiver, no, immediately the project type change to provider hosted. But I want the Sharepoint hosted only. Sharepoint only should host all these images, list pages, everything. So I would like to say provider host, Sharepoint hosted only. So now we have the WCF service. Right now process event just return something, we are not interested, but we have more focus on to process one way event.
If we keep it auto hosted, what will see?
It will determine automatically whether it is targeted Office 365 or the on premises. Try, catch. Is it run as part of the Sharepoint? Is it running as part of Sharepoint?
No.
It's running outside Sharepoint. Basically, it's a different website altogether. Okay. Error occurred in handling process event details.
On-premises include both standard edition and enterprise edition.
Sorry?
On-premises both of standard edition.
No, even I told apps basically supported from MSF onwards. So not very specific to.
I was on-premises and Office 365. On-premises includes standard edition as well as enterprise edition.
Office 365 always include enterprise edition.
Okay.
But all the features of enterprise edition not provided. They are removed it. So some of the service applications are not available to us. Username, who did the operation. item event properties. We'll say that item event property is equal to username item event properties dot user display name operation equal to item event properties dot list item event properties dot list title item id user added a new list item to the list on okay. Now since it is a remote URL, you always better host them in a common DNS name, common location, rather just to put them into local host or so. Okay, so right now where is going to be hosted? SSL enabled, we say disabled, no, we don't want SSL. http:// localhost 17047. So in the remote event receiver, we'll specify the remote app URL equal to this. Better host them into common location. Of course, it can be configured, okay, rather just a hard coding like this.
So one small question.
Yeah.
So this actually isn't this remote event is where it runs actually.
See, the idea is this one. You developed an app hosted in the SharePoint site. This app has got a list. The user is going to add a new item and so. We cannot write any code associated to that. Now the requirement says that when the event, in the SharePoint we do have event receivers. Likewise, when the user adds or perform any operation in this list, how do I get to know so that I can write some logic? That's where event receiver to the remote system. Remote event receivers come to the picture. So there are two types of events: list related event, list item related events. Both again pre-operation, post-operations. So the only change what we are seeing here is that the regular event receiver is nothing but a .NET component which is going to be executed at the server side. Remote event receiver is nothing but a WCF service which is going to be called by SharePoint when any user performs an operation with the list.
Okay, but where that executes?
It is going to be, it's a WCF service, no? So it's going to call the WCF service and just leaves it. SharePoint leaves it.
Okay.
So that way SharePoint doesn't have to execute anything. Alright, now the user, I'm just going to deploy this and see how things really work out. It is uninstalling the app, installing a new app, so definitely it's going to be a new ID.
When you deploy this website also will get deployed automatically or like created an SVC?
See, it is not like a website is creating actually. When you activate the app in a SharePoint is creating one subsite for that. So having said that, it's a SharePoint work, it's a SharePoint architecture to create a subsite for the app when it is activated. It is not like an app is doing that.
No, you created an event receiver, a remote event receiver. There also a subsite is to be created. Okay,
No, this is a different ASP.NET site.
Hosting in the
It's an ASP.NET site. Now you can see that there is a ASP.NET site running called, say for example, we'll view it in browser.
No, that we have to do our hosting by our own.
Our own. Now we got the 17047. Now our SharePoint is going to call that URL. Not this, not this. So we are supposed to call suppliers, right? New item, title,
keeping it upload or something like that. You
There
get
are so many websites.
no, it's not necessarily some website. We can keep it in the same website every all the way.
See, for example, now we created one item. You can see that our WCF service is being invoked. See there, user administrator add a new list item 6 to the list supplier on. This is a message we are logging in the our WCF service, right? Now it is invoked by Sharepoint to notify something has happened. It is our responsibility to write some extra code in a WCF service to query using JSOM or any whichever format you like it. Getting the point? It informs. It doesn't give you list item details also. You have to query.
So if it is before adding, you want to validate.
So that time it will give the pre-details, correct? Yeah, because the item is not yet added, no?
Yeah.
Right. Now my objective is to, can I bring the supplier search capabilities into my default home page? Now this is my default home page, okay? I'm going to edit this. I'm going to delete this particular web part. I would like to add some portion of my app into my Sharepoint page. See, when I click the app has its own home page, app has its own content to render and so. What if I want to have the mashup of app 1 specific content, app 2 specific content and use it? Like how we have web parts where we can just plug into our Sharepoint pages. Likewise, what is the equivalent thing available in apps? That's called app part. Web part is a server side solution, app part is a client side solution. So now I'm going to demonstrate two capabilities over here. What is that? How do we develop an app part that uses JavaScript object model to query the app content, get the data, search it and display that. So you'll come to know how the camel queries are being executed by app, the JavaScript code. Able to understand what I'm talking about, right? Let's go and create a new folder called AppParts. Add a new item. Client web part. Did you notice that? It is going to be hosted in the host web. Targeted to host web. How host web is going to accept your client app specific content? The host web is going to have iframe inside. Now iframe can load any URL. That URL is going to be provided by app.
iframe is supported everywhere?
Huh?
Not.
Frame only not supported. iframe is supported. Ideally speaking, you should avoid using iframe content. Okay, that leads to something like a scripting attacks and all. But the client app parts have been implemented in Sharepoint in the form of iframe only. All browsers support it. See, it's not against HTTP or HTML. Only thing is that people misuse that. So now we'll call it as supplier search app part. So it's going to create one ASPX page called supplier search app part. Did you notice that? It is creating one file ASPX called supplier search app part at ASPX. Okay. Now we'll go and have a look at that what exactly it is done. Elements.xml basically says that there is an app part which is going to be installed. What is the title? Supplier search. We'll just give the proper title. Supplier search. Description. This is a simple app part from app which would allow to search for suppliers data. Default with this 300 height and width. So basically we need better, maybe we'll say 400 with 200 is height. That is fine. Your web parts can have properties. Likewise, the app parts also can have properties. Now the question is that how does app part properties are going to be given to my app part so it can utilize it. App part properties are going to be added in the form of query strings. So you should always use query string to read the values in JavaScript, because you are not allowed to write any C# code. You cannot say the requires are query string off. You cannot do that. So your query string will be given. It is your responsibility to write some JavaScript code to read the query string. Whatever the property values you get it, you use it according to your requirement. We will add the property bit later. First, let us focus on to developing the app part. Now we have got one ASPX attached to that. That is also a normal ASPX only, but it has got a special control called allow framing. When I say allow framing, no, automatically in which page it has been added, it will add the iframe. JavaScript loaded by default, that is fine. So we have no content here. If you see that they are using jQuery, Microsoft Ajax, SP Runtime, SP.js. That means you can enjoy all the benefits of SharePoint client context. Now the question arises. So what is the look and feel of my? We'll have a very simple table. T body tr td name input type text id equal to txt supplier name input type button id btn search value equal to search. So simple table, we have a div tag, we have to display the result here. When the user clicks it, we have to display the result here. So what is the idea? Now I'm going to write some JavaScript code here. So let's go ahead with the scripts. Write some code. Add a new item. Code. No, I think web scripts. General. Where? JavaScript. Okay. Microsoft never encourages you to write JavaScript actually. So anyway, they are forced. We'll say that supplier search.js file. Now we have to include that supplier search file over here. We'll add it at last. Suppliers search.js file. Okay. Once the document is ready, thank God we have got a very better IntelliSense support, because all the scripts have been loaded, so we can comfortably program it. Visual Studio 2010 and all, not good idea for JavaScript. 2012 also okay. 2013 got improvements. 2015 is really nice. btn search dot click function context equal to sp dot client context dot get current. We got the current context. Web equal to context dot get web. List equal to web dot get list. Supplier list equal to suppliers list equal to list dot get by title suppliers. That is the list we have got. If you see that, list the title equal to suppliers, and then sub query equal to new sp dot camel query query dot set view xml get camel query for the supplier name. What is supplier name? txt supplier name dot val. So we got the query. We still have to write the function get camel query supplier name, camel query, return camel query. We don't know what to write, so we'll just write down later. Items equal to suppliers list dot get underscore item, sorry, get items query. And then we have to now load the items and execute it. Context dot load items, context dot execute query async function sender error alert error occurred in querying details JSON error dot get message. Enumerator equal to items dot get enumerator, while enumerator dot move next current item equal to enumerator dot current get current. Now here we have to write the logic to prepare the, this is the problem, see there you are seamlessly writing the logic and trying to prepare the HTML and display that HTML into content. So output table equal to table border 1 t head PR, will just display only supplier ID. These are all worst practice actually.
For method design, we can use table or data. So data.
Ideally speaking, table should never be used for layout. Okay, table is not, I don't say that table is not good. What I'm saying is that table is not good for layout. You can always use table to display the tabular data and so. Okay, you should not use table for layout. That is a bad habit. Supply limit status. Okay, we have only address, right? We can just display that also. Output table plus equal to t body I would call programmers who write these kind of things and all not eligible for programming actually. Anyway, we have become habituated. So for time being you can write it. But architects or designers should never encourage their developers to do so. Okay. Current item dot get item supplier ID dot toString.
SP services also.
Huh?
SP services.
SP services for
Okay, data to interact with Sharepoint.
yeah, you can set as a Java REST services. Yeah, maybe break time also. Okay. Lunch break time like sorry. Okay. That also recorded actually.
Yeah, that is No shortcut keys to pass it.
You can F10, you can pass it, but if I do F10 in the Visual Studio, it will build it. So
Yeah,
okay, so we got this, and we are going to dump into the what I'm doing. So shift result dot in HTML of output table. Alright, so we got the content here ready. Now the camel query has to be prepared accordingly. Okay, SharePoint 2013. First we'll go to Google, otherwise we'll go to Bing. SharePoint 2013 camel query designer. Camel designer. So very good thing about this particular tool is that it not only generates the camel query, it also generates something equivalent of Ajax, REST services, all the variety of possibilities, including PowerShell. So let me just go and generate that and get it downloaded.
still we are using U2U. The site is not available, still we are getting the
Sorry?
U2U, but only we are using command
Okay.
now.
Download offline package installation. Okay. Save. U2U, basically the person has died actually.
Yeah.
So long ago he died. He died in Antarctica. So he went to one expedition to Antarctica.
Yeah.
The U2U camel designer was there, no?
Yeah.
That person.
One of the initiated that we used, still we are good.
Now this is better actually. I'll show that.
You think that now? We are comfortable.
Alright, so now we got the zip file. We'll just extract it. Camel designer.exe. Okay, so we'll run through. Is it blocked? Unblock it and then extract it. Now we'll open it. It will not prompt for authentication or security related measurements. Right, so this is the camel designer. Okay, so what we are supposed to do first is that use connection tab to connect. How do you want to connect to SharePoint 2013 client object model or server side object? We'll say client object model, and we'll call it as RAM 2012 SVR. Current credentials connected. Right, so now we got the connectivity done. I would like to basically connect to some list called suppliers. So in our SharePoint site also we do have suppliers. In app also we have suppliers. Okay, see this. I'm going to select now fields that you are interested to see that. So supplier ID. I'll drag this. Supplier ID, supplier name, supplier limit, supplier address, supplier status, all these properties. Okay, and then you can order by also. I want to order by supplier name. Order by supplier name. I want to place my where condition. So supplier name contains for example A. Query options, I can say that including all mandatory columns. Row limit to only display 20 records. Test. That's fine. We are not interested to see that the result and all. Our objective is to make sure that the query is run. So now this is a camel query, and this is the server side object model code. This is the CSOM code. This is a CSOM REST code. See there, it automatically prepared the jQuery based AJAX statements. Web services code, PowerShell code. So now basically we want the CSOM .NET code. So this is the query. So now we'll format it. We don't want to see this. Okay, so this is the query. Okay, so now we got this. What we are supposed to do is that we have to properly prepare. This is supplier limit. This is supplier address, supplier status. Now we have to properly prepare this so that it will work. I'll maybe use text pad. So I can do a lot of find and replace with the regular expression way also. Right. So press F8. Dollar end of the code. So we'll just place the quotation. Quotation. Right. So we have something extra here. Is this right? Now here we are supposed to replace with our name, isn't it? So get camel query string. Here we are going to write the logic. Now looks very neat. We got the camel query also, right? Properly formatted according to the condition that we are interested. Nice. Built. Now I would like to introduce a property to this app part, so I can set some other properties. So in the app part element.xml we can specify new property. See there, property, name of the property equal to, say for example, display type, default value all, managed link convert server link to relative, not interested, managed link fix up, that's one, we don't know what it is, multilingual, no, not interested, personalization sensitive, no, personalization scope, shade, required designer permission, no, type, it is a string, web browsable, true, web category, it will come under the custom properties, web display name, display type, description, specify, display type. Suppose if you have enumeration, we can specify enum items also. Okay, enum items, enum item, web display name, value equal to all items, active, inactive items, active items. Okay, right. Now how are we going to use this particular property display type as part of our query string? So we just have to add AMP ampersand. It will give the ampersand. Okay, and display type equal to underscore display type. What is underscore display type? This is the property name. Display type is a property name which will be embedded here. And what is the key? Display type. You can give any key. DT equal to. Key may be anything, but how the values are going to be fixed, you have to follow the convention called underscore the property name underscore. So I'll just say the display type equal to underscore display type. Nice. Now the question arises, how do we read this property value in JavaScript? We can write only JavaScript. Read query string from JavaScript. Feeling lucky. If you go to the second page of the Google result, still you have to know how to search it. If you go to beyond 5 pages and all, forget about it. You will never get it. So you have to get it in the first page and second page. Do you know that Google is hiring people who frequently search with better keywords actually? Right now is hiring people who search better, no? With the good keywords and complex keywords. So Google is not able to return the results. They are hiring those people. Okay, so now we'll have a function called get parameter by name. Okay, this basically does the query string to get the values. So now the question is how do we use this? Get parameter by name. We want the display type, right? Display type. Message equal to current display type value is alert message. We are given by default all. If you see that element.xml default value is all, isn't it? Built. Nice. Now we are ready to deploy this. Deploy successfully done. Refresh the home page. Click it. Administrator. Sorry, I am typing the username. AppParts are available over here. So let's go on edit, insert AppPart. We can see that under supplier search. This is a simple AppPart, isn't it? Add it. Automatically selected the height and width according to the requirement. Go to the edit web part, custom properties. We can see that all items, active items, inactive items. Okay, all items. Okay, now we'll save. We'll say in our app we do have a list, right? Suppliers. We have north wind, east wind, so and so. So we can just type wind. Search. See their current display type equal to all and displays the search results. If you
Is
don't
deployed in catalog or
No, not.
know, Deepan, the data coming from app only.
no, the app where it is deployed?
App is deployed in the current site only. It's activated. See there, the app is available here.
It's a web part page.
Huh? Now I would like to have something of app into my site, into my web page. Raider.
Yeah, but we could not see the query string parts passing. But,
Because iframe, no, iframe query string is there.
yeah,
If you go to the developer tools and find out the iframe container, you will be able to see the query string of that.
no, query string will not use the top.
That is
Top.
page. Iframe query strings are not displayed over the page.
Yeah, that's true. But when we are getting the web query string from JavaScript, it is will get from the.
See, iframe basically has its own context. Okay, if I run JavaScript in the iframe specific HTML, that will get the query string from this iframe specific URL only,
Not that.
not the top. In the modern web, if you don't use Bootstrap or if you don't use the 960 grid system, Bootstrap base is 960 grid system only.
But there is Azure foundations.
See that Twitter foundation actually. Okay, so most of the good websites, very nice websites, are built using 960 grid system. Bootstrap is also inspiration come from 960 grid system only. Okay, so if you don't design your web application, web pages based on 960 grid system, 960 grid system means 960 pixels targeted. Okay, so rows and columns, 12 columns. Each column occupies 80 pixels. How many rows you want, you just have that. You should never have the horizontal scroll bar. Vertical scroll bar is allowed. So the idea is to have the 960 grid system. So Bootstrap is based on this only. So your web design should be either based on 960 grid system or Bootstrap. If you blindly design and display like this, like what I shown, no, we never encourage you to be. Developers cannot become web designers actually. Developers are always developers, designers are always designers. Okay. If developers design, developers only like it. So that is the idea. That is the point. You should always have designers separately. Okay, nice. We got the idea about how AppParts really work, right? And we came to know some of the good tools also, like a Camel Query Designer. Go and explore that, how to use this in a different ways. Any questions? No. Next. We can design workflows to be part of our SharePoint list. So now we'll quickly design a simple workflow. Add a new item. Workflow. We'll call this workflow as suppliers workflow. It's a list workflow. Suppliers workflow. Associate to the suppliers. Create new. Workflow starts automatically when the item is created. That is fine. Or manual also, it can be created if it is already existing in the items. I like to first query the current list item. What is the supplier limit? Or we can say supplier status. Supplier status. It is Boolean. And then based on the supplier status, I would like to give the supplier limit also, integer. So lookup list item. Item properties. Dynamic value. Current list, current item. And then get properties. What properties you are interested? Supplier status. Map it to. Okay. If supplier status is true, we'll give the supplier limit equal to 10,000. Otherwise, supplier limit equal to 1,000. Then we would like to update that. Update list item, current list, supplier limit to be the supplier limit. We just make an history entry saying that suppliers workflow processing completed. Okay, so very simple
Which
workflow.
list we are associated?
We created the history list, right? App specific history list is created. See that app specific workflow history list or app specific workflow task list. It's a subset, no?
Yeah.
Anyway, subset specific history list is created. Deploy. Remember, since we deployed a new web app, this becomes ineligible. I mean to say this will go off. Why? Because we no longer have this URL specific app part, right? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Muruga. So now the supplier status is a yes actually. Okay. What is the limit? 23,000. Automatically, once the workflow is applied, it will change that to 10,000. It's completed. Workflow processing completed on this time. It is 10,000. So your apps also do support workflow, not very specific to only the SharePoint solutions. Your app can introduce some custom action that we can bring it to list actually. See there we do have a list called SPD customers. Okay, I want to bring some menu items here, or I want to bring some menu item in the list level. It is also possible for that. So basically what we can do is that we can create a new folder called actions, add new item, menu item action. This is called custom menu item action X. It's going to be available in the host web or app web. We are going to place in the host web. It's going to be list instance level. Which instance? Maybe we'll put them into, that's fine, list instance. We can place them into supplier, not suppliers, SPD customers, we say SPD customers. So what is the action you wish to say? Analyze this record. Where do you want to target to? I want to target to my ASPX which is there in the app. So now the question arises, how do I get the item ID? I can say that current item ID equal to item ID ampersand title equal to item title, item name, not list name, list ID. Likewise you can specify. So now the item ID list ID will come as a parameter to this ASPX query string. It is your responsibility to write some JavaScript code, get the values and query by yourself. Did we create that? Is it come? Menu item, custom menu item action X, list instance, SPD customers. Analyze this record. That's fine. Once it is come, automatically you can go and modify there actually in the elements XML. See, automatically the item ID, list ID brought to you. Actually you should say ampersand AMP,
Okay.
not ampersand only. So that's the problem. So now we will create one more action. This action is called ribbon action. CGA home ribbon action. It is going to be the host web. Put them into list template or list instance. Under SPD customers, we would like to add it. Where it should be located? It should be located in the list items actions. List items actions. It will come over here.
So in this case, only the default.
Yeah, list item actions. It will come over here. Or if you can say that choose a location where exactly you want it.
Okay.
And what is the label you wish to give? Say CJ home. Where you should point to? cj.com. Build. Deploy. What is the question, Hari?
In this case, the default data aspects will be maintained in the server. Only the default data aspects, right?
See, default ASPX just an ASPX page. It doesn't have any code, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have only that.
That's called Sharepoint hosting.
Yeah,
Sharepoint hosting.
that.
Yeah. Right, guys. Now it has been deployed to our Sharepoint. We'll just ensure that. Yes. See there in the SPD customers, I see a new record called analyze this record, which will in turn take you to our app specific ASPX.
Yes.
That ASPX will have by default item ID as well as the list ID from which location it is coming. It is your responsibility to write inside some JavaScript, inside the ASPX, write some JavaScript to query them. Now in the SPD customers items, we can see CJ home also. You can change the look and feel of this icon also. Yeah. Now we'll just package this, rebuild, publish, package this app. Now we have got this 1.0 portal.office.com. Omega learning 291 at install.microsoft.com. No, Omega learning at install 291 dot forgotten the password also. Okay, thank God I remembered that.
Now the package is binding of Sharepoint only that right, not online.
No, it is basically it's a deployment type. Okay, not a deployment type. From Visual Studio you can deploy to SharePoint 2013. Okay, if you change it to SharePoint Online, you will be able to deploy to Office 365 directly. Now we have got the Office 365 account here. I'll just go ahead with the SharePoint. So now Office 365 by default includes site collections. Yes, we are able to see that. Info path, user profiles, BCS, managed metadata, record management, search, secure store services, apps. These are the built-in things. Now we have one site called apps here. Okay. Right. Now in the apps for SharePoint, I'm going to deploy my SharePoint apps here. Right, so now we have deployed one app called Advanced Features App Project. Okay, now I can use that in my SharePoint site. This is my SharePoint site. See, I moved from SharePoint 2010 to 2013 and migrated all the contents of some other demonstration. I did that. That's fine. So my objective is to now get the app here. So add an app from my organization. Remember, remote event receiver won't work here. Why? Because we are targeting to local host. Okay. Ideally speaking, you should target to something a common host, which is accessible over the internet also. The BCS list also won't work.
OData. BCS.
BCS OData, but the OData pointing to local host, no, it won't work. Why is it a long time to run that? Something went wrong with the adding app. Maybe because of that local host stuff. Okay, yesterday we built a small application, right? We can now publish that actually.
SharePoint hosted.
Yeah, SharePoint hosted only. That's not a problem. There may be something messed up. So fine, that's fine. So let's go ahead with the apps for SharePoint. We have got publish. Upload completed successfully. That's called the CGI Learning App V2 project. Okay. So now in the app, add an app. From our organization, we can say CGI Learning App V2. Trusted. We should now see that CGI app has been added. Where is it? Yeah, it's being added. Yes, so now CJ app has been added. We should be able to, anyway, still being added, I believe. So that's why it is not showing that. Okay, now it is added. Automatically the authentication takes place. Still see that install 291 randomid.sharepoint.com. So there is a subdomain for us actually. So if you develop app that runs in on premises, yes, it's guaranteed to run in Office 365. So as long as you are maintaining the distance from a local host or so on. Okay. So this is a demonstration. I would like to make it for SharePoint hosted app. Then we are going to see provider hosted app. Then we will have some small discussion on the solutions versus apps.